What is up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Grandpa's Fridge. This episode, there's kind of gonna be a general sort of topic thing I'm talking about. It's kind of like, as the title says, one step forward, two looks back. Like, not just talking about where things are right now in the world, not going too much into that, but sort of looking back on things, sort of things that I'm reminiscent about a lot recently, and just getting into, I guess, a little bit more detail about what certain things like I miss a lot and things that you kind of can't do now and how they're going to be affected after this whole phase thing reopens stuff to the point where it's the new norm, like I was talking about last week. So let's get right into it. But before we do, one last thing I just want to say. I think there's a correction I want to make from last episode that I realized, like, I think middle of the night, well, before I went to bed, that it was in my head, so I wrote it down. I mistakenly thought Nectar, Joji's new album, was coming out next week, as in, like, this week, I think, because, today I'm uploading this, recording this, it's the 18th, but I was really a month and a week off, but now, even more unfortunately, it's delayed by, like, 2 months. Yeah, so instead of it coming out July 18th, it's now coming out September 25th, which is unfortunate because they haven't really explained why they're doing that. I guess it's just a safety thing for the sake of the album sales or something like that. Hopefully that means at least another single drops or something like that. But I'm not going to get too much into it. All right, so yeah, to start right into this whole topic of this episode of this week, let's just get into a real, I guess, a sort of general statement right here. Explain parts of why I loved like summer of 2018 as a whole, and talk about things that I often reminisce about, and talk to my other friends and things that I just in general really look back on a lot. So I guess starting off 2018, there was a lot of cool things. For starters, we went to Austin. January was kind of like a not bad month. I remember Fortnite was getting a big thing around that time, and then come February, a lot of things. There's a lot of media things related to this. I'll get into more detail in a minute, but for starters, February break, we go to Florida. Me and my mom, we drive down there, which was a crazy sick thing. And I have like photos and stuff. Hopefully, I'll find a way to showcase them and like memories I have from the places. Because like a road trip, a full on driving from the northeast of the United States down to the southeast. It's awesome, the kind of things you see on the trip. Like one day I just woke up and we were in south of this border, which is this sick like tourist trap type place that has like a bunch of bright flashing signs. It's pretty much like a bootleg Las Vegas is how I see it, but like more like Mexican twist themed around it. And it's a really sick place. Like I would totally recommend sometime in your life going there because it just has this really like almost El Camino Breaking Bad vibe to it, with like how crazy out there it is and how sick it looks at the same time. And a lot of the things are tourist traps. Like the hotel is apparently disgusting, but yeah, I woke up one morning when we were in the car. I'd sleep and I'd fall asleep in the car and wake up the next day and we were in there and it was sick. And I have like keychains and stuff from there to remember the place. And then we drive down. We finally reach Florida, and our old neighbors who used to live in the same neighborhood as we did after their house unfortunately burned down. They moved down to Florida, and we had seen them I think the year before, but we came back down to their house because they're really nice and welcoming and stuff. They have like 3 dogs. I think 2 of them, maybe 3 of them were foster dogs. They're really nice people, and I had a fun time there. The year before we went to like Universal and all that, and Jazz and like Disney, I think, for a few days, and that was fun being with my cousins and all that, going down there planning that trip. That the next, like I said, this year it was kind of just an unexpected trip, and or not unexpected, not I guess unplanned. We didn't like plan to go like Universal. We kind of just went with the flow and did certain random things around the area every day. Like we wake up in the morning, I guess have some breakfast or something that we have to eat, and then we just go somewhere. Because Florida is a pretty like broad place. There's a lot of things you could just drive down a road and you find some crazy stuff in Florida. Like you look up your birthday and Florida man on Google, you'll definitely find a crazy story relating to what happened on your birthday or that day in any year. You'll find a crazy story about like Florida man. Like I had a friend of mine today look it up, and he found Florida man throws alligator through window. Like the kind of stuff you find in Florida is insane. But I'm getting sidetracked. Yeah. So we were down there. We went to SeaWorld, which was sick. We went to a couple more like not tourist trap, but like really bootleg based materials when it comes to these little gift shops and stuff. And we found some sick things there. And like I said, in the midst of all this, Fortnite was still really starting to pick up. Or like as I was down there, my friends were messaging me saying, "Yo, when you get back, we're gonna buy the Battle Pass, the season 3, and we're gonna have fun with it." So it was things like this that were like all coinciding and happening simultaneously. That I in the moment I wasn't really thinking like, "Oh, this is so much. Like, I'm doing so much stuff and having so much fun." But you look back on it and you're like, yeah, damn, there was really a lot of cool things that happened that year. And for starters, yeah, 2018, there was this movie I really wanted to see, and I read the book, I think, within a month before, because I was really interested. I think it was, yeah, that, like, the from January to like, maybe like early March, I read this book, Ready Player One, by, I think, Ernest Cline is the author. It's a really sick book, and the movie adaptation with Steven Spielberg came out that year, like, I think, February, March, and it was really sick movie. Obviously, think like as almost everyone says, the books are better than the movies, but I would suggest reading both. Reading the book and watching the movie because there's a lot of pop culture references from the last like 30 years in there, and it's pretty sick because it's a mix of like the going into the future and seeing how I guess as they describe it in the book, it's obviously fictional, how awful the conditions of the world are and how people escape into video game worlds and just do all these sick things online because it's so easier to worry about things in there and live a different life essentially on there as compared to the mess that the real world's in. Because in the book and in the movies, it's like these like really junky looking trailer homes that are stacked on top of each other, almost like a tower at that point, and there's like areas full of them, and that's where the main character Wade lives. So yeah, I'm getting too much into the movie again, but I would recommend reading the book and movie if you ever have time for both of them. But if you don't, just watch the movie. It's pretty sick. That came out, and in the midst of all that, we were in Florida, and that also, I'm going just one step back, real quick. Black Panther came out in that February, and that movie has an amazing soundtrack. If you have not listened to that soundtrack, just listen to it. It isn't, granted, it's not like a whole theme for a soundtrack, like, talking about like a life experience. No, it's all things based around the movie. But a lot of the songs in there, without even context from the movie, are just sick on their own because they have this really sick collaboration with TDE that like pretty much composed the entire album and put it together, and also worked with a couple other artists like James Blake, Georgia Smith, Anderson .Paak. It's a bunch of crazy, talented artists on there, and I would totally recommend listening to that if you have the time, and then also watch the movie because it's an amazing Marvel movie in my opinion. People I remember at the time were like, "Oh, it's kind of overrated." Maybe, but I loved it. I don't know, something about it. Just think the action. I think the big thing was the Run the Jewels song was in the trailer back in 2017, the teaser trailer, and I was like, this is sick. This movie already has me excited. And watching it in the theater in IMAX, it was just awesome. So we came back from Florida that like following week or two, and then I went to see it with my dad, Black Panther in the IMAX theater, and that was a really sick experience. A lot of movies and stuff I'm gonna bring up in like game related things in this year. I guess checkpoints almost are things to mark certain times in the year. Yeah, so that happened. We saw Black Panther. It was a really sick time. That was close to Valentine's Day that it came out, and then I think around early March we saw it. So when I came back from Florida, which was sick. Come March was pretty sick. We were playing Fortnite a good bit with the Season 3 thing, really starting to pick up attention and people talking in school. 8th grade was sick. I'll just really quickly say this one statement about it, and I always say this to people, because for me, I felt like 8th grade was you were like at the top of the food chain, I guess, with middle school, as dumb as that sounds. And I guess that's the obvious thing because you're about to leave next year. But you have so much freedom and you just do so much fun stuff as 8th graders. At least if your school, like ours, has like a bunch of fundraisers and you make money to get these sorts of things, like a dinner dance, which we had in May, a trip to Six Flags for our whole grade in June, which was sick. For our student council, we went to this sort of like, think of Sky Zone, but like a little bit better with more things to do inside of it, Urban Air, which was sick. All these things happening within like the first 6 months of 2018, I'm like, bro, this year is amazing, and it just kept getting better, and it really like it was a good balance of doing a million things, and also everything just seemed to be at like a good all-time high for everything I was interested in, whether that be movies, things happening to games, which is why I made like the Zebra News videos at the time, because I just found these stuff interesting and I wanted to talk about them. It's almost like what I do with the podcast, just a platform to discuss these things. Movies, game-related stuff, events that happen in school, like these really sick things and really funny moments I'll remember for a long time to come, because they just sit in your head and you're like, damn, you remember that day when so-and-so had like a dance-off with like a 5th grader and it was like getting a whole crowd of people and he had the wizard hat on doing the Goofy Goober song challenge. It was awesome, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And that's how I felt at the time, at least. I know some people don't obviously have the same connection. This is just me kind of getting into what I felt about it. So yeah, we're in March. March was pretty good. April comes around. April break. I remember we went to Virginia that year, which was sick. I have photos on my phone. I remember a little bit. There was like pictures. We went to the Virginia Zoo. We also went there last summer. But the Virginia Zoo has a bunch of sick things. At the time, they had a pregnant monkey, which was kind of sick just seeing it. I'm looking at my phone right now, the photos of it. When I was in Virginia, the Leviathan skin in Fortnite released, and I was like, that's pretty sick. So I got it, and I was just talking to my dad yesterday about this. And then also we rented out. They had this one person was selling like on interval like a disc for a discount the entire unit, like a whole full-on building, bottom level and top. And the bottom level, like they're both like a repeat. That's like a duplicate on top and bottom. So think of the same thing twice. But my mother and grandmother, they had the bottom room or the bottom area. There was 2 bedrooms, and then in between there was one side bathroom for the second room that's smaller, and then a giant bathroom with like a whole jacuzzi tub and a shower and a bathroom inside there and a nice kitchen area and a TV in every room. So it was sick. Think of that. I have my own space above them that has the same exact things as that. So I had a jacuzzi tub. I had pretty much 2 beds. Not that I used 2 beds. I only used the main one, but it was like a TV in there. I hooked up my Xbox. It was a fun time. And I don't know. Everything just felt good in the moment. And then that was April, the main highlights from April. The Beans Not Zans thing I did way back there then was just kind of like a funny thing because if you look at my channel, you'll see a bunch of stupid jelly bean reaction or challenge videos. I don't know. I just kind of thought it was cool. And I had a bottle of ibuprofen on my table that day, so I was like, you know what? Put them together and make a sick photo. And I did. And then we come around May. I'm looking back. Yeah, so no, the last week of April, like the last 3-4 days, they start teasing on Fortnite's Twitter and Instagram these little pictures showing like a brace for impacting a giant like meteor thing. And we were talking about this in school and like on YouTube and all these things like platforms. Oh, the meteor's gonna hit Tilted. It's gonna be crazy. The Tilted Towers are gonna be gone next season, which kind of I guess didn't in our head. Click after the fact. Didn't make sense that they would add a new building or area that's really busy at hotspot just to ruin it. And now looking back on it, when Dusty got destroyed, it makes more sense why that happened because it was kind of like a really basic generic spot, and then it became a focal point for the season for like hot spots and dropping areas because how much stuff was going on there, and it was sick how it evolved each week. Yeah, so come last week of April, they started teasing skins. I remember every day we'd check that around the same time in school for at least for the I think the last 2 days of the week, so Thursday and Friday of I think April, and then come into May the weekend we were checking them and it was sick. First one was the Carbide skin, but it looked like Flash because there was a red tint on the screen, and we were so excited like, yo, Flash skin's gonna be sick. And then the next day was Wonder Woman. We were like, yo, that is definitely Wonder Woman. That is fire because we saw the hair and the face and the sort of the outfit. Next day was the Squad Leader skin, which I thought looked like Ra's al Ghul, this guy from Gotham. It wasn't. It was a pretty generic skin, but I digress. And then the next day, I think with the last teaser was what's her name? Abstract. Or no, Technique. But the thing with Technique is all I saw was her like gas mask to protect her from the fumes from like I guess spray painting. I thought it would have been like a female counterpart to Mr. Freeze. So this whole season was already sounding sick with superhero theme. We come into it the first day of May. May was an amazing month, but starting off May on a good note because everyone was talking about it in school, all my friends and stuff. People had played on mobile in class. They were like, "Yo, check out the Risky Reels drive-in place in game," and I was like, "Yo, this is sick. This is a sick thing in the game. It's gonna bring a bunch of people in, and we were having fun that whole time." Yeah, there was the whole meteor thing in the middle. There was spots around. I was just checking a couple minutes ago before I started this podcast on Fortnite, the old loading screens, and like how there was more of a story back then. Granted, the new season came out yesterday, and it was pretty sick, and I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to get too much into it, but it's cool with the whole hot water theme. It reminds me sort of like Season 4, Season 3, and Season 5 combined, and it's really sick with the Aquaman collaboration. But Season 4 had that storyline, and so did Season 5 kind of, but Season 4 had like after you saw all the loading screens, it was kind of more of a movie theme, but it was still sick. So yeah, that kept us busy. I guess I'm not going to talk about just that, but it going from May 1st to like mid-July, it was sick. And then there was the day, I remember this day vividly just looking back at my videos, there was a day, May 29th, 2018, like I was saying as I was bringing up earlier, my friend, he would just go crazy and start dancing at recess around like the principal at the time, and there's videos of it, and it's sick. And we were just like reckless in that sense that we would do like dumb stuff and get away with it essentially. The following day was a half day. I remember this day, I had a pizza coupon I won from my teacher, and we went to Harry's Pizza, which is a place in our town. And we first got a pizza because I had my coupon and we all ate and it was sick. And that was the day a Fortnite update came out and they showed we saw some new teaser skins, and my friend eventually got Rapscallions, which was sick. He still used that to this day. We looked at the skins, looked at the leaks and stuff. Then we went to his house because that was when the update came out that day. We went on his Xbox at his house, and we were like wondering if we were supposed to be at his house because sometimes people can't be over his house. We went to his house, and there's like a camera watching, so we were like, "Oh, should we be here or not?" And then it was his sister's birthday, so we were all right afterwards. But we were screwing around with the shopping carts. And we were like, "Yo, this is sick!" And they added apples. We were like, "Yo, there's apples in the game, and it's sick." And May was a good month, mainly Fortnite based from what I remember. Also the dinner dance, which was sick. I have some photos on some people's Instagrams and stuff. I vividly remember people just having a good time at the internet events when it comes to music, and like people just jamming out in that crowd and becoming like more of like a, not a rage thing, but like, or a rave, but like a big group of people just rioting around and doing like a circle, just going crazy in the crowd while the DJ guy was playing music. And we had this secondary room next to the cafeteria that had like a PlayStation 4 in it, and they were playing Fortnite in it. And I remember one kid, I think his name was Ben, I think Clark. He hit like the cord on the corner where the outlet was, and he unplugged it, and people flipped on him, bro. They pinned him to the wall, and I was in the corner like geeking and like without trying to be obvious about it. I was like, yo, this is the funniest thing. Them like fighting the kid over Fortnite. And then Mr. Hoffman, the guy that had the PlayStation 4, he brought it to, or he let people use it at the actual dinner dance. He was like, "Oh, settle down, boys. It's just Fortnite." It was sick. And then come June was like jam-packed, honestly. June 1st, there's a photo right here. I see my phone. The grade 8. We have Spirit Day in middle school. We had Spirit Day in middle school, where it'd be the colors based on your grade, and there'd be challenges in the gymnasium, and whoever grade has the most points by the end of all the challenges, they would win. I see a photo right here of a friend of mine photoshopped me next to a llama, which was pretty sick, a Fortnite llama. I'm just looking towards the llama, trying to get towards it. A photo of my friend's cat, which was at his house, and that was the one we went to his house for the shopping carts in Fortnite that day. There was a bunch of other things. Like, it was around June was like the real summer start month, and like in school. Granted, this year we're not in school. Excuse me. So you can't really tell. You can't get that summer feel when the weather's nice and you're like, you feel so rewarded when you finish school and walk out in that nice weather, or just do something after school with your friends. So it's really been a weird year in that sense. But that's why I'm looking back on other things. Yeah, for example, real quick, our science teacher in 8th grade was insane. Mr. Gothier, he would like get a vacuum seal and a trash bag, and you'd sit in the trash bag, you'd turn the vacuum on, and he'd like suck your body up. You look like the little tiny thing Voldemort from the last Harry Potter movie. It's awesome. Look like a rotting corpse from the Mummies. He also had a giant cannon. He lit a blowtorch, and it would shoot like, you could hear it inside across the entire school. You're outside on the field, you could hear it across in the library. That's how awesome it was. And then come June, I think 19th, 2018, we all went to Six Flags, and that was sick. Everyone had a good time there. I haven't heard from anyone say like, "Oh, I hated it at Six Flags. It was gross. It was busy." No, we nailed it perfectly. We got on all the rides we wanted to. It was sick. My friend spent like $15 on a poop hat with the Rasta colors and then the Rasta dreads on the sides. And I have a photo of it, and it's so funny. And I think like a few days before that, we went to Urban Air for the trip. Which was sick. I remember vividly, we needed a couple more cents. I think someone dropped some on the floor, and I got them enough money, like barely enough, like a few more cents, and I wouldn't have had enough money to get these donut bite things at the place, at the snack shack. It was sick. A friend of mine wants to work there now. Hopefully he gets a job there. And then come the June 21st, 2 days after Six Flags, we're at the promotion. We finished 8th grade. We get the little paper and stuff. We were taking photos and stuff, and it's crazy because after middle school, a lot of people really decided where they wanted to go for high school differently. Some people didn't go to the same high school for the town. Some went to the vocational school down the road. Some went to different high schools. Me, for example, I moved to high schools, but it's still in the same area. It's like a town over, so it's not like I moved to Jamaica or anything. And I remember that same day after the promotion went down, we went to my friend's house, and I have a video right here. We were playing Fortnite. Someone was everyone brought like snacks and stuff. We were eating food. We had pizza. We were scooting around on his trampoline. They were trying to get the dub in Fortnite. Another of my friends right here, he was playing the guitar, and he was doing Lucid Dreams really badly. The same day, a friend of mine got the G Fuel starter pack. It was sick. Like all the variety pack. And then what sucked about this day, because I remember people talk about it sometimes, was I had to leave a little early to go to New Hampshire for this time. This was the summer of Vlog Summer 2018, which it's like bittersweet. Like, I'm glad I got to know New Hampshire, obviously, but like I would have liked to have a couple more hours with them, and I probably could have. So it's like not like a regret thing, but like it's one of those like left or right decision kind of things. One more thing I remember, I have videos on Snapchat of I think it was June 9th or 10th. We went to my friend who lives right next to the middle school's house. house, and we walked from his house all the way down to the Dollar Tree in town and the Burger King. And let's see right here, June. We have videos of us screwing around. We each got an item at Dollar Tree. We hit, my friend had they had gummy worms in his nose. We were throwing cookies at cars. It was sick. They were using the ketchup things as shot glasses in the Burger King, which unfortunately the Burger King closed. His dogs were sick. We watched a movie. We fell asleep. We had a fire. We listened to music. It was a sick day. And then, let's see, come around end of June, closer to July of 2018, we're entering, we went to New Hampshire. We had the whole summer of vlogs time. It was sick. And we eventually get around to, after we finished all the fun times in New Hampshire, because it was the sick summer. I got the Moxie hat. I had the double pump on the little fake shotguns. I had a bunch of lighters. I was getting so many lighters this summer, just as like collectible type things to remember the days that I got them and stuff. Went to arcades. We went to these mountains. I got some sick photos. I have like 3 hats on one person's head. My cousin brought the Bean Boozled jelly beans and a keychain from the store. I found a Supreme sticker on the plunger. It was sick. The day before this, I had a taco where the chicken was the shell, and it's genius. It was good times. And then come July, my cousins come back to Massachusetts. They live in Pennsylvania. They come back to our house for a few days. We go to Six Flags for the 4th of July. It was really busy, but we still managed. We got some ice cream at this Chevy's place, which is really sick. They have this sick Almond Joy, like, sundae thing. My cousin fell asleep in the car after Six Flags. That's how much of a good day it was. He was just really tired. I got the Moxie with the Moxie hat. After that, like, 5-day period of them being at our house, I go to their house in Pennsylvania where it's legal to set fireworks off. And then I'm like setting all these smoke bombs off. I'm trying to get light like 3 at once at midnight. Not midnight, like when it's getting dark out. My uncle just throws like a whole pack of outdated firecrackers in the fire, and you just see them go up like fireflies in the sky. It's sick. We went to see Incredibles 2. That was sick times. They have a nice pool. And my uncle gave me this free mountain like night themed Zippo lighter. He said it's at least 20 years old and it's never been used, so I still have that like as a memory from that summer. And then that was probably like a 2-week period, maybe 2.5. We come back to my house the 20th, at least I think the earliest, maybe the 19th. I have a photo of me with a dragonfly on my hand at my actual pool. The next day, or maybe that day, later in the day, me and my friend went to see Jurassic World, the new one, which was a pretty bad movie. I wasn't going to lie with them. I was going to be like, yeah, this is a pretty bad movie, but it was still sick to be out here eating ice cream and seeing the movie. I made this waffle sandwich. Astroworld came out that summer, which was sick. Real quick, I'm going to touch on all the albums that I can make like as like a description for the summer and why it was so sick. Let's see. It started off really well with Post Malone's album was the big one. KOD. I remember I can check my playlist that sees like the main things I added over time. But KOD from J. Cole was sick. I was listening to that while doing like house chores at my grandmother's house, and it was just a really nice album. I liked it a lot more than you'd think I would, or not. I think I would, but I just really liked a lot of songs in it. I liked the sound to it. I listened to that a lot this summer. I got really hooked on this song Skywalker by Miguel and Travis Scott. Champion with Nav and Travis Scott. I know Nav's a clown when it comes to music, but Travis Scott is really making these features in these songs. Listen to Flower Boy more often, but new music that came out that year after KOD, Post Malone's Beer Bongs and Bentleys. I loved this album so much, and I just listened to it like all summer. Just This Is America by Childish Gambino. That song was a really like moving song, and it really has relevance today with the subject matter. It was really like, I guess it has this like really tribal sound to it, and I like it. I was listening to some Saba, Mike Stud. He changed his name to Mike on Spotify. Jaden Smith, Icon, Walk It Out, Roy Purdy. I know he's more like a joke guy on Instagram, but this song's really catchy. I know like all the lyrics to it. Back in March of 2018, I'm just going to go back to the music real quick. Logic dropped Bobby Tarantino 2, which I thought was pretty good. I got more into Logic that summer, and we were listening to it at my friend's house. We had the fire, and we threw cookies at cars. I listened to some more Kanye. Michael Jackson, a lot of Michael Jackson. I added like 5 albums of his, and then I got into Kid Cudi more. It was sick. I think, if anything, Man on the Moon 1 really describes my summer 2018, like listening to that a lot, and a lot of sick songs. The Migos dropped Culture 2, wasn't bad. It's kind of like probably not as good as Culture 1, obviously, but it's got some good songs. Drake dropped, I said this in the last podcast episode, Drake dropped Scorpion. People can hate it. Maybe it is his worst album, but I really loved it in the moment. And then I listened to more I got more into Odd Future stuff, Childish Gambino, some Weezer, some Amine, One Republic. These are just artists I would totally recommend if you're hearing any of these and you think they might sound interesting to just listen to some of their work. Mac Miller's the big one as well because I was excited. I watched the self care video actually popped up. It played after another video I was listening to on my iPad in my headphones at my aunt's house while playing Fortnite. I was like, oh, I'll just let it play. And I actually really loved the song Self Care. And I was like, this guy actually sounds really nice. And I listened to more of his songs and I listened to like all his albums that day. We went on like a hike for my cousin's Boy Scout camp, and I listened to Mac Miller while in the car driving there, while walking there for like hours on loops and stuff. And it was really just a good time. And I think what makes it perfect, in my opinion, or really like coincides well with the music and listening to it in Pennsylvania, is Mac Miller is from Pennsylvania. So it just kind of like felt right looking back on him. Run the Jewels 3 was sick because that's that people that the Legend Has It song on One of the Jewels 3 is in the Black Panther trailer. I'm kind of rambling about music. I'm not going to try to get too much into this. And then Astroworld. Okay, now I'm back to where I was saying before. Astroworld came out, and that night, not only did that drop, Kamikaze dropped, which is alright by Eminem. Me and my friends, we stayed up like till midnight to listen to it, and we were really excited because it just had this nice album cover, and its aesthetic it looks so sick, and I was excited. I really liked Astroworld. It was really like a Rager album, and you look back on it, it's still really sick. And then around like August, I was babysitting my cousin. I think one night, my half brother came down for a day or two. It was sick. I saw him. I don't see him that often, so it was nice. And then I'm trying to think. So yeah, that was mainly like the summertime. And then albums and movies, like I was saying, saw Incredibles 2. There's a couple other ones towards the end of the year I remember seeing. But 2018 just has this feeling of like. I think it's the word is like I feel not eternal, but like I feel alive, like I feel like forever, not forever, but it just felt like you could do anything in that. I guess that 8th grade moment, because when high school started, it's a different story, but it wasn't bad. Like want to die bad because of high school. No, it's just a getting used to period. That's all I would really describe it. And it took some getting used to, but once I did, it was not bad. Because look at it, a year later, I was having just a great 2019, 2020 year for like sophomore year and stuff. It was sick. Trying to get this to load better. Yeah, so let me go back to what I was saying. Yeah, the super nostalgia thing. I was looking at Fortnite earlier, like I said, in the game, and while I don't have the same like feeling about it as I did maybe like 2 years ago, that's the thing. I look back on some of the things in it, and I'm like, I remember this day vividly. I got like Chinese food with my grandmother at her house. I had my Xbox there. We were playing all night. We got the first Fortnite Season 4 win. It was sick. The loading screen came out. There was some more leaked skins the next week. I remember then the Visitor came out, and all this stuff. I remember almost like a timeline when I look at one photo. So it's like a chain reaction or chain of events of memories in that sense. And that's what I mean when I say like, oh, I really miss 2018 and a lot of things in it, because music was great. I started getting way more into music that year, especially because I realized I used to think when my mom told me when she got Spotify Premium, I thought Spotify cost money as an app, so I wasn't going to buy it. It wasn't. It was free. You could shuffle songs, and that was kind of the downside to it. You had to pay to not shuffle songs unless you were on Xbox. But when I found that out, I was just listening to so much stuff. In fact, if I go to Spotify right now, I have like 4,000 right here. I have 4,535 like songs over the course of 2.5 years, which is insane to me. But that's the thing with music. You can get lost in a world of it, and that's how I really kind of use it sometimes to just like remember, like a song can be attached to a memory as well. Super nostalgia in the sense of like movies. I really miss I remember that moment watching that movie. I remember being in Florida. I remember being in Virginia that year. All these things, and I think the thing with super nostalgia, why it's attached to 2018 for me, is 2018. I just felt like I hit like every check box in my opinion. I didn't make a list or nothing, but I just did stuff without even realizing it till after the fact. And that's the greatest thing in the moment. You're like, bro, I'm next week I'm going to Six Flags, and the next week we're done with 8th grade. We're going into high school. This summer I'm gonna go see some movies, go to my aunt's house, go to New Hampshire, have a sick party. That was one of the coolest things about the summer is I threw a really sick party for like not like a going away thing, but like a last 8th grade type moment in my opinion, and it was really successful. We ding dong ditched till the cops came up to us asking what we were doing. It was sick. We watched Eric Andre show on my Xbox 360. Some people were playing pool on the pool table till like 3 in the morning. Apparently I was snoring, so they sprayed like bug sprayers for Febreze in my face. I don't even care. It was sick. I'm not even mad. I had the greatest time of my life in 2018. And I like I said before, I think last episode I might have brought it up. I think the reason I keep looking back on it more, I thought last year I was like in 2019, I was like, oh, I really remember how much fun I was doing fun stuff a year ago on this day, like let's just say April 8th or something, when we were all in school having fun, screwing around at like lunchtime or something. Comparing that to now, when you're kind of forced to be at home, granted, you can talk to some people through technology. Technology sometimes really feels lifeless, and that's my issue with it. Is it's like and how I see it, it's like you're talking through a wall, because there's like a middleman in technology, like iCloud servers. You have to like have it sent to a person in the cloud before it gets to the person. And granted, yeah, I don't always think about this, but I prefer to like have like, I know everyone pretty much does, rather be talking to a person or hanging out with them in person than talking over the phone or playing Xbox in a party. But this year you're kind of like in this bubble, and it sucks because I know so many people had plans. Some people wanted to get their license. People wanted to go to places. People wanted to hang out with certain people and do certain things at certain places. I'm being really vague for the purpose of like, it's really one, you can put anything, like fill in the blanks when I say something with someone and all that, because there's so much stuff people wanted to do. And I know it's inconvenient, but that's like a given because it's a coronavirus global pandemic. Obviously it's going to be inconvenient, but it just sucks because it really, when things for some people were starting to get really well, and then it's like, oh, let's flip the script on them, 2020 about to be a disaster. And it's like, it's insane how much this year has just said, nah, you wanted a good you wanted to start this decade off right? Nah, we're going to bring in a global pandemic. We're going to pretty much burn the world down, in the sense that like so many bad things are having effects. Like at this point we should just go to Mars. Like that's how I feel, honestly. I don't know, something just doesn't seem right with this year, and I'm hoping we're at the halfway mark just about. Hopefully the second half blows us away and fixes everything. I know that's probably really unlikely, but it's always nice to stay as optimistic as you can when it comes to these kinds of moments, because someone told me this a couple weeks ago, all you can do is really hope in this time. One more thing I'm going to talk about real quick, or I guess maybe get into a little more better. I love like the new and unknown things. Like when I get into like a new like GTA update, or like yesterday for the Fortnite season, going into it not knowing anything about it. That's what I did on the stream. If you want to check that out at the Real Hip Hop Zebra on Twitch, I just went in there and I was like, yo, that is sick. There's sharks. The whole map is pretty much flooded. There's like really few POIs. And last December and what's it called, summertime, when I was in Virginia on the casino update, I walk in the place and I'm like, yo, there is so much going on here. This is sick. And I just like everyone. Sometimes people feel like worried about the unknown. They almost fear for it. I like walking into something and like trying to learn about it or get more used to it. That's kind of like a given, but like try to find out things about it. And it's almost, when it's an unknown, there's so much in the unknown. Like the possibilities are endless in that sense, that you can find so much stuff in there. Another thing I kind of have a tendency to do is get fixated on things, and oftentimes dig way too deep into it, and then get way interested, digging way too much, and then getting interested in it, like almost to the point where I will like make it not boring, but like dry myself out with it. Let me just drink some water real quick. Before I get into the getting fixated on things, I think now will be a pretty good time for an ad break. So let's get right into that, and I'll be right back after that. These messages. This podcast is sponsored by Anchor. Now, I'll be honest. When I started this Spotify podcast thing, I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't even know how to put it on Spotify, or what an RSS feed was. I looked online for answers for these questions I had, and everything website-wise charged you money. Then there was Anchor. Anchor is completely free. They help you make money off your podcast, and they help you distribute it to all places: Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. It has everything you need to make a podcast, all set up in one place. Super easy. If you want to make your own podcast like me, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR FM. And we are back. So thank you for the sponsor that is Anchor. For them, they're really lifesavers in the sense that they made this whole podcast experience, learning thing, posting it on Spotify and YouTube really easy for me. And they're day by day, I'm checking notifications and I'm just seeing they're posting it on other platforms. I'm like, I'm not even doing anything. They're just really making it. They put all the work in their hands and make it easier for me. So props to them. So if you want to make a podcast like this where you just talk about things, go for it. Use Anchor. It makes it way too easy for you not to want to use them. As I was saying, getting fixated on things like a Fortnite update, I could play it for maybe like a day, really long time in a day, like maybe the beginning or something, or like a week straight of like mainly playing that in another game. I didn't do it with Red Dead Redemption 2, but I was playing it a lot, so I can understand why if I played the same amount of time as someone else who kind of gets bored of a game like quicker, it could definitely get boring or repetitive, and you'd be like, oh, I don't want to play this game anytime soon now because I just played it to the point where I made it dry because I finished everything. GTA updates, I do get way too interested in them like before they even come out, and then when they come out and they're like mediocre, not bad, but like I'm like excited expecting something way more than it really is, then I guess it's on me for getting the hopes up. Music, this is like probably the number one thing. I would like hear like an announcement of an album. Let's just say After Hours. Not that After Hours was bad. Maybe I expected it to be something different than it wasn't. I could be really hyped up for it. I'm like, because he like announced like a month and a half in advance, and I was like, this is sick. Let's go. I'm really excited for this. And then it comes out and it sounds like nothing I was expecting, or my expectations were way too high. And then that's on me, and I'm like, dang, I was really hyped and interested in this. Maybe with the Gambino album is a better example, like really expecting him to do something way bigger than it really was. It was just dropping a white screen album cover and all the songs you heard online and that website, and which was pretty one-dimensional, but I think he had a reason for that. I don't really know his reason, but I'm not going to question his ways because he's kind of a genius at the end of the day. He's very chameleon-like in this whole media sense. He makes so much stuff, does so much stuff. He's kind of a legend, Donald Glover. I'll give you that. But like I said, I do this way too often. I try to not to. Although when times are really boring like this, you kind of want to get focused on something, because like when things are really boring and you're like, bro, what is going on right now? Like I nothing interesting with the world, and it's like really slow and it kind of sucks. Then you want to find something to get focused on. Yeah, like I was saying, I like to see people get like excited over things. Like this dude that also does a podcast, kind of another reason why I wanted to do one. His name's I Talk Fortnite on YouTube, and I know that already sounds stupid. He really talks about like these things with a passion, which also sounds dumb. But he finds it interesting, and he keeps himself busy with this, which I gotta give it to him, especially in like a global pandemic, because I don't know, just something about it. The way he talks about things, he keeps himself busy with it. He finds everything interesting about the game in a sense, and he sees everything in a different light, I guess, compared to like, I don't know, someone who plays the game just casually. Not saying he like sweats over the game and like goes way too into it. I don't know what he really does, his methods. I know he likes to talk about things. He likes to be in a news channel for it, which is pretty sick, I guess, in the sense that, like, when I did Fortnite news, I was trying to do something similar. Not like I was watching him back then, because I kind of got into him this year, but I like what he does and how he does it. Another good example, these really sick YouTubers from Florida, this family, Tim Tracker is the name of their YouTube channel. They go to like all the theme parks all the time. Granted, with the coronavirus and the global pandemic, they're kind of not going to theme parks. They're slowly making their way this like last few days into theme parks with like the mask on and the whole new procedure. They don't want to like get sick or anything. They're really taking it safe and serious. But when he came back to Islands of Adventure in Universal Studios Florida, he was so excited when he saw how like much construction they got done on that ride and how sick it looks. It was like a kid on Christmas Day, and that's the kind of feeling I like, seeing someone that's really excited for something. I like having that feeling, but when I can't feel like that about something and I see someone else with that, I'm like, oh, props to them for really being excited about that. And that may sound weird, but I don't know. Something about it just seems like, oh, that person's having the time of their life. I like to see that. That's a really sick thing in my opinion. Yeah, overall, I know this was supposed to be talking about, like, reminiscing about 2018, and I kind of did that a little bit. Overall, the year was good. I miss it a bunch. Music is a thing I look back on. Snapchat saved things is a thing that's why social media is a blessing and a curse. For the curse part is, like, some bad things that come out of it, like people post awful things sometimes. But I almost use it as an archive nowadays, and I really did this last year, and I think I might not get back into it, but like eventually, if I'm really like running out of things, even though next weekend I am going to Florida, New Hampshire with my cousins, and possibly the beach tomorrow with my parents, which is gonna be sick. So I'm finding things to do. I'm not complaining. I'm not bitching and moaning. I'm doing just fine, to be completely honest with you. I've been sleeping a good bit recently, which is a random thing to say, but like, is true. I've just been sleeping kind of a good amount. Yeah, we'll see how the summer pans out. That's really the only thing that you can do, because I just had my last Zoom meeting today for classes, so I finished sophomore year. It's crazy that we're pretty much juniors now into high school, considering this whole last 3 months feels like nothing happened at all. And I know that's obviously given the pandemic, but just something feels off. It's like we're in a time loop. That's how I really feel. Yeah, 2018 is a moment I look back on, because there's so many things I look at the moment, I'm like, bro, I was geeking in this video when so-and-so was like spazzing out in class, or he was covered in toilet paper and he looked like a mummy or something, or someone else had like a video of them using Snapchat filters, and he also looked like he was having the time of his life with it. So it's like funny it makes you be happy to look back at them and like, damn, I'm glad I saved this little 2-second clip on Snapchat, because it's funny to me still, because my sense of humor is so dumb that I laugh at a picture of me with chicken nuggets in my eyes. But I digress about that. I'm just saying that in a time like this where the world's really taking a turn for the worse, and I keep saying that, not trying to be negative, just the truth of it. Like, sometimes you're not being negative, you're just being brutally honest about how it is. Like, you can't be like, oh, sunshine, rainbows, I go outside, I'm really safe. You go to a store, you're kind of enforced to wear a mask, and if you don't, you're kicked out. And that's the scary truth, and it's worries about the future, because who knows how this, like, I know things are going to change, how like safety conditions when it comes to sanitary stuff, like cleaning things way more often, it's going to become a burden. But it should have already been happening beforehand when it comes to sanitation, because the world is kind of like got a lot of I guess you'd call it hygiene problems in like sanitation. It's really like the world's like kind of disgusting in that sense. You don't look at like, oh, the world's nasty. I'm just saying, like, there was a lot of things that you take for granted. But I don't know. I'm just saying 2018 was a good time for me, so it kind of makes me feel easier, or it feels easier to make time go by sometimes when you just look at a moment and you're like, that wasn't even bad. It was a good time, and it's not now, obviously. But if you're ever like in like not like a weird place where you like right now, like the whole world's in a weird place, you can just look back on it and you're like, maybe this will come back. Maybe a moment similar to this will come back. You can hang out with your friends hopefully soon enough, and maybe we're not all fucked and the world's not going to shit. We'll see. Personally, I think the world will get through this pandemic. Otherwise, we'd probably be dead by now, everyone. Not saying that like a negative tone. I'm just saying, like, this pandemic thing is serious. People took it, I guess, not serious, just like a few other things before in the past that weren't as serious. But this one really came at us. We were 2 steps behind it. Almost like the two looking back twice, or two looks back, essentially, is what I would describe it like, because we were like, oh, this isn't that serious, it's gonna go away soon enough, and then it like took over the year and we couldn't really do nothing about it, because the whole safety precaution thing, all you can really do at that time is stay in your house, and it's sad, but it's the truth. And like I said, hopefully we find a way to, I mean, we have so many people on the earth that I'd be surprised if we didn't find something to deal with it. But honestly, I don't know. I'm not mad. I'm not like miserable. Like I might have been like really bored and feeling bad about the whole situation back in March, but we're not in March anymore. We're in June somehow. 3 months have gone by, and I've survived this far. So here's to the future in that sense. Hopefully New Hampshire is fun. I have really high hopes for that. It's better than staying in the house for 3 more months, so, or even just a week. The summer, people are really going to try to go back to places and like have fun, which I totally like give you the salute for that. All I ask or say to people is that they should just try to like listen to what, like, I guess the small rules are. Like, let's just say like you go to a beach, don't like start getting up in someone's face and like splashing water on them. Like, as long as you keep your distance in like the water in a beach, you should be perfectly fine. That's how I see it, because the virus really spreads based on how close you are, and going off of distancing rules, as long as you just follow those, you should be fine. And that's my TED talk about the I guess the virus / how it affects the future. Talking about the past and the future. I have hopes for the future. I think the world will be weirder after this, but I think it's kind of needed in the sense that we were late to this. We didn't have enough time to react to it. The whole rest of the world, like let's just say the United States, wasn't where it started. everyone was just doing their thing like a week before March like 13th, and then March 20th, everyone's like, "Yo, we're gonna stay inside because we don't want to take no risk and spread it in turn." So it's really become a serious thing in the sense that you don't want it, you don't want to spread it, and if you do it, if you have symptoms of it, stay home. And I know this is what the last 3 months have been about, and like talking too much about this. I'm just saying that things will be all right. We just need to do our thing as people. We've done our thing for plenty, 2,000 and more than 2,000 years. Think of it that way. Like people before have had awful plagues, but they didn't end the human race. So we just do our thing with this one in the sense of staying safe. And the weirdest thing I'm worried about is school. Going back to school, I'm hearing talks about they have to make the decisions around June to September, that whole time before we go back. Talking about now students will stay in classes and the teachers will, maybe not the teachers, but someone will rotate around and you will be staying in the same room with 10 people that you have every day, and they have like half the amount of people that normally go into the school buildings going in, so like they cut the groups in half and maybe the other half of classes are online. That'll be weird. I'm interested in to see how they want to do it or how they think it's the best safe way to do it. But my mom sent me a message and she's perfectly correct. You know it's a bad time when your school is literally selling branded masks. Like they're selling them for I wouldn't say profit, but they are selling them for the safety of students. Like if they don't have their own mask at home right now, then they can get them. They're like $65 for, I think it's a 6-pack of 3 material layered masks. And it's honestly crazy that this is what the world's come to, but I can't say it's like this shouldn't have been expected. It's just we were having a good time in the world that we weren't really thinking about something like this to come. And now that it has, what are you going to do? You're already in the midst of it. I digress again, though. I don't want to keep rambling on and on for this one. I know that's what this is all about usually, but I think I've hit the main checkpoints for this one in the sense that I told you why I talk a lot about 2018 in the summer and why I had a great time with it. The music was great. I had the Apple Music for 3 months, which was awesome. I had fun times with like playing games in the midst of times when there was like I guess like not as much stuff going on in the real, like not real world, but if I wasn't going somewhere someday, I would just chill on a game or something. And Fortnite was really thriving back then. It's still kind of doing pretty well right now, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not gonna get too much into that in the sense of like what it is right now compared to what it was back then. I think things have changed a lot from 2 years ago. Do I think that's a bad thing? I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I think it's a very obvious shift, and everyone can say that they've changed a lot in 2 years. But I just mean the world itself. Like last year was kind of more or less the same. I think it was worse for music and maybe some movies and stuff. I wasn't really that big a fan of last year for like media. But this year, you can't be a fan of the real world because the real world don't exist right now. People are going to the beach and stuff, but they can't say to themselves, yeah, this virus doesn't exist anymore. A lot of them probably just aren't reading the articles, which I don't blame them for not wanting to see the news of like, oh, so and so many people have died this month, because it's awful to hear that constantly. They want you to be aware, but like there's a difference between being aware and over-informed, and then you're terrified because the news makes it into a literal like threat of you go outside, you will die. And granted, I'm not saying that's not the case. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying don't get too much into your head with this stuff because honestly, I wouldn't say go out and do a million things like up close and personal with people. Like theme parks and stuff are still trying to get used to this, and they're doing their best. Beaches are a big thing that are popular right now, I guess, in the sense of popularity and how busy they are with crowds. I saw a friend of mine at a beach today or a lake. You're fine going to one of those as long as you just keep the distance. Like, you're not coughing on somebody. You can just live your life. The beaches are gigantic pretty much, so I don't see a problem with you chilling on a beach in your own umbrella or your little towel on the ground with your space. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So as long as you do the main things of like just keeping the social hygiene rules, I see no problem with it. And honestly, props to the people that have been working on not cleaning, but like keeping the world informed and getting the requirements they need for this kind of virus because it's coming so fast and rapid. Honestly, we are strong as a human race. We will get through this. I sound like Trump with the gibberish, which is awful because I don't really know what else to say about it. So maybe I should wrap this up quick. All in all, if you have listened to this one, sorry for talking too much about the past when the past is in the past. I'm not trying to change it. I'm just talking about how much I loved that year and how good of a time it was for me. And this can be archived. It's just like everything else I have about the year. So in like 2 years from now, and I'm probably living maybe hopefully a better life than quarantined for 3 months, maybe more, based on how school goes or school is adjusted to this next year, then maybe I'll look on this and be like, oh, that was an awful time. Thank God we're out of that. And that would be, I guess I'd be happy with that in the sense that we wouldn't be living in a global pandemic. But I don't know. All in all, thank you for listening to this podcast episode. If you did enjoy it, if you are listening on Spotify or any Spotify or podcast listening platform, such as, let's see the list right here, because I know they showed me about them. If you're listening on Google Podcast, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, or Radio Public, feel free to follow the podcast or whatever button there is to like or stay informed on it. Do what you want. If you want to do that, go for it. Feel free. If you're on YouTube, the video form of this, hit the like button on the video. You can hit subscribe if you want, that big red button, and then hit the bell to know whenever I upload a new video or a podcast episode every weekend. And I think that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video or podcast episode. And with that, I'm out. Peace. Grandpa's Fridge.